Hello fish fools, Jeff here. So this is my 10-gallon Guppy and Endler hybrid tank. Well, what's left of it anyway. This is the end of the line for my original Guppy and Endler hybrid colony. I was able to keep a colony going for about 5 years, and not too long ago the last female died, so all that's left are these guys. I even thought there was even one more male, but I guess I must have lost that unless it's in there somewhere. So of the 3 that are left, there's this one that has a bent spine, and this one I pointed this out in a video at one point, how I really like it. It's just plain. Somehow it just ended up like that, and I think it's pretty cool. And that one is kind of looking like a Vienna guppy. So in this tank, this is the end of the line. There are no females, but the descendants do live on in another 10-gallon tank that I have, because like that one kind of looks like a Vienna guppy. There were a couple like that, and the other one I moved into another tank that I was calling my mutt guppy tank, and for a while, and that has spread its genes in there with some virgin females, and that tank is well populated. So those genes do live on, but this tank, as the Guppy and the hybrid tank, is going to be over because I'm going to do something else with it. And this tank has a lot of history, so that's one thing about all my aquariums. I like to look back and reflect on the memories. This was my original quarantine tank, going back to 2017 when I got back into the aquarium hobby again, and I had my 30-gallon tank. And as I was cycling that, before I moved, I wanted to put any fish in it, I wanted to have it completely cycled, so I had this as my quarantine tank. And the original fish that I got were in here before being moved to the 30-gallon, and some platies and guppies had babies in here. So then while they were in quarantine, before I moved them to the 30-gallon, so I just left the babies in here to grow out, and then eventually I got a male livebearer Endler and a female guppy from my local fish store, and then they had offspring, and then from there the colony just continued on for 5 years. Like the population would rise and fall along the way until now, and this is all that's left. So there's also neocaridina shrimp in here. It wasn't too long ago that I had an ammonia spike in this tank. I mean, one thing, I did neglect this tank some. Even now I'm about to do a water change, but I don't ordinarily allow my aquariums to evaporate this much before doing a water change, so it has been a while. But there's not that much bio load in here anymore, so I've been feeding it as much. But there was a time when I had an ammonia spike, and I made a video of that when I pointed out there were several neocaridina shrimp that were deceased, so the population took a hit. That actually happened another time after, like I showed it on a video once, but then it happened again. But still, there's still some in here. Just yesterday I noticed there was a buried female, so that population will continue. And going back over the years, this was the tank that I was battling hair algae with for a long time. Trying several things. First thing I tried was getting some easy carbon. It was kind of like the Aquarium Co-op version of Seachem XL, I believe, that is intended to kill algae, but it didn't kill the the green hair algae that I had. It actually killed the guppy grass that I had in here at the time. After that, I tried going without light for a while. I just kept it in the dark, but that didn't work. And then heard so much about Amano shrimp being the greatest hair algae eaters, and I got a dozen of those. They disappointed. They did not do anything with the hair algae. They were kind of a nuisance. They would eat the fish food, and I even suspected that they were snatching fish, but it may have been just that they were fish that were already dead. They were eating those. So there should still be some Amano shrimp in here. I'm not seeing any with all this cover of Java moss and some wasser tang. But not too long ago, I did find a large shrimp outside the tank. It had to have been one of the Amano shrimp because it was just significantly bigger than these Caribbean shrimp. I also found the Siamese algae eater outside the tank dried up, and the nerite snail. So I've made a couple videos about nerite snails escaping aquariums. It's happened to me, I think, 3 times now in this tank. I have some nerite snails in some other tanks that hasn't happened, but just, yeah. So now that's all stuff. There's also, I know there's at least one I saw the other day, a pygmy corridor. That's another thing I experienced. I had pygmy corridors spawn in here. I've only witnessed it twice. Once I saw that they had eggs on the glass, and when there was a greater livebearer population here, those eggs got eaten. But then, around 2 years ago, I witnessed them spawn in here, and I was able to. It was the first time I ever collected corridor eggs. It was the pygmy corridors that were in here, and I collected 8 eggs, put them in a separate little, this little half-gallon aquarium that I have, and they all 8 hatched out, and only one of them grew to was still alive after about 2 months. I did move it to another tank, and then it did disappear, but that was my first attempt at raising corridors fry. So yeah, that was a good experience that I had there. This is the tank, so we still have some Java fern Windeleb. That was one among the earliest plants I ever got, and from that original plant that was in here, and that's what's left of it. I've propagated. I still have them in several other tanks. And this tank has Malaysian driftwood, which I'm not really fond of. At the time I was trying different types of wood. I've since settled on Mopani wood as my preferred wood because it doesn't degrade. Like, this stuff is just kind of crumbles, and I remember just when I do gravel vacuum, it would just be all a lot of debris from it. At the time I just thought it was like dead plants. Like I mentioned, the guppy grass that I had died off. I thought it was just all that, but later realizing that it's the wood, because it's from the original pieces, one here and a log here, but they're worn down significantly from the original pieces that I got, so I don't really like those. And maybe I believe there are plecos that will eat wood. I'm not a pleco kind of dude. So yeah, I'm not a Malaysian trumpet kind of dude. But so going forward, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to move these 2 guppies into one of my 40 gallons. These Guppy Endler hybrids. I'll probably just leave the one with the bent spine in here to just live out its life. If I can get the pygmy corridor, if there's one or more, I'll remove some of this drive muster just to kind of redo this tank and see what's in there, what I can remove. Maybe I'll try to get a pygmy corridor population going in my twinning long that has another group of Guppy Endler hybrids in it. And I may move some of the, if there are the amount of shrimp in here, I believe there are deep in here. Move them. I'm thinking of having a dedicated algae eating tank that'll just keep a mono shrimp in with Siamese algae eaters and Florida flagfish, and just whenever I have plants that get algae on them, I'll just take them, instead of moving the fish into the tank, I'm going to move the plants out of the tank they're currently in and move them into the tank with the algae eaters so they can eat that, and then I can move them back, and that way could be a reason why the mono shrimp never really were good algae eaters, because they had too much fish food to eat. But this way, they have their own tank, and then I can not really feed it and let them have no choice but to eat the algae. And then, what will I end up doing with this tank? So, a couple things I'm considering. Like, I do want to get pea puffers again. So that is a strong possibility that this could end up being a pea puffer tank. Or I could use this as a select breeding tank. There's some guppies or Guppy Endler hybrids that are really cool looking that I'd like to kind of isolate their genes and select breed them. Or even with platies, I could select breed platies. One thing I'm kind of thinking I might do is try to cross a platy and a swordtail. They're both xiphophorus, and the xiphophorus fish. Platies are Xiphophorus maculatus and swordtails are Xiphophorus helleri. They can interbreed, and until pretty recently I kept my platies and my swordtails apart in different tanks, but in my 40 gallons now they have platies and swordtails. They will probably end up mixing genes anyway, but I might just put a single pair or a single trio in here just so that they can for sure breed. If it's one male platy and 2 female swordtails, it might be the likely scenario. But yeah, so those are some possibilities I'm thinking of. I'm open to suggestions too, if any of those ideas sound good, or if there's anything, if you're watching, any ideas that you might have that you think I could try. Yeah. So that's what's up with this tank. Not very exciting as it is right now, but I do have, I want to make it exciting again, and whether it's pea puffers, select breeding guppies, or guppy, or xiphophorus hybrids. Well, actually, there's yet another possibility. I would like to at some point get some more exotic live bearers, like some other type of xiphophorus species, not the common swordtail or platies, but some exotic, like Xiphophorus xiphidium, the spiketail, or the spiketail platy, or the swordtail platy. They're pretty rare, but if I can get my hands on them, or something like that. Yeah, alright. Well, that's enough rambling, and that's it for now. And remember, I'm Jeff, and I enjoy fishes. Thanks for watching.